I told her no video, so now she's trying to set up a webcam facing away from me.
Okay,
I sat
so
too many of the vision classes with her, and she's like up in the instructor's face with
Yeah.
her phone trying to video. I told her,
so what is EEGS again?
Ericsson
What's this
EVDO
item?
Global
Is it
System.
CM1? CM
They're, you know, they all like their little code words for stuff. It's also called Genesis. All it is, your today's product out there, the legacy EVDO, is an Nirvana product. EEGS is Ericsson's version. Hardware-wise, for the switch side, we can walk out there and look at it. The RNC 9K, newer RNC, it is the same hardware as an AEC. The difference is the shelves. On legacy, each individual shelf is an RNC. And then you have your cluster of up to 10 RNCs all tied together. For EEGS, where it's now called an AEC, you can have up to 3 shelves all tied together as one unit. It's one AEC. Okay? Hardware-wise, it looks exactly the same. The software sitting on it, completely different. So, for example, on the RNC9K, the NTRY 62BA is the basic application blade that sits in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same application blade that sits in the AEC. When you order the part through M4X,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same part number. But guess what?
Hmm.
One
Different
won't work in
function?
the other. They're flash different software.
Mm-hmm.
So, basically just Ericsson's solution. AEC, similar to an RNC. The AEMs, basically a DOM. GEMS, or the DOSIMs, or whatever you want to call it, it's basically just like a BSM. It's the same basic platform. The new CSP, or the Vision BSC, is a pair of blades sitting on a shelf over in Setsu. On the legacy BSCs, it's 2 big-ass Nitro 1280 servers. 2 of them take up a whole cabinet. So that goes to just being a pair of cards. It's the exact same pair of cards, just configured different. For a switch perspective, you got SIMCLI and SIMSCAD. I hope you know what those words are.
Mm-hmm.
You still have SIMCLI and SIMSCAD on this. So, for example, we do a carrier ad.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have always heard us say we got to add the node to add the Rev A license.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, we do that in the DOEMS.
Right.
Now, we do it in GEMS. Guess where? Either SIMSCAD or SIMCLI, your choice. It's just adding a different way to do it. If you want to get really, really technical about it, the newer DOEMSs, like where they just migrated Qualcomm to the new DOEMS,
Mm-hmm.
it's sitting on a CCMP 6000. That's a pair of blades, just like GEMS is. It's still just a CSP. It's the same thing, just different software. Other than that, you still have the basic same nodes, your AAA for authentication, your PDSN to get out to the outside world, those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at it in perspective, you still have either AEM sitting in MetroCell or the one that's internal in the DBA, either T1 or IP backhaul, depending on where it lives, comes back in, and it talks to the AEC, just the way that the DOM talks to an RNC. Off of that, with the new stuff, of course, your IP core, whether it's your IPA, the external routers to get out to the rest of the world, wherever. You'll have your AAAs, your AAA sitting off the PDSN, just further authentication. You have your GEM server, where you have your SIMSCAD and SIMCLI software, and then you add in your little CPS tool built into it, kind of like a CATP.
Okay.
type interface.
Mhm.
Instead of using the spreadsheet to generate the CLI file, you have an actual tool.
Okay.
CPS technically exists on legacy video, but nobody really uses it. Basic call flow, it's the same. The boxes it's going through change. You still have your air interface, you still have your ABIS interface, you still have your A10 interface. That's the same as today. It's just right now that's called a DOM, that's called an RNC. Nothing really changes but the hardware used and software. For the AEC, there's really not a lot to it. You have your shelf controllers, which is on the outside edges of the shelf. It's just the cards that tie the three shelves together where they can talk to each other. From a switch perspective, you remember the VSE class?
Mhm.
It's the same hardware.
Okay.
You still have the SCXs. You still have data manager cards. And then you have your routing cards that sit on the bottom shelf.
Mhm.
That's your links back to the IPAGs, out to the PSNs. Your way in and out of the box. Other than that, you have your ARC SPPs, your control and session management, that sits only on the first shelf. Your shelf control and session management. The first shelf can't handle everybody, so it's going to say, okay, you need to go up to this shelf in this part. They're just a basic blade. All these are just those 62 DAs over and over and over, just with different functions assigned. AEMs, there's really, they're coming, they have the 1402s out, everything we're using so far is the 1302s. 1402s are just the newer flavor for the next round of EEGS. But it's basically, you have the encased one, looks just like a dog, goes into Metro stuff. There's a ton of them sitting out there already, up towards the woodlands, where they already did the migration. There's also one that's like an open circuit pack with a faceplate on it that would go in your channel element expansion. We'll probably never see. And then you have that pretty internal to the DBA one. The good thing, enjoy these mod cell versions. They still have a serial interface where you can talk to the freaking thing locally. The internal, Ethernet only, no serial access. The encased ones still handle T1 or Ethernet, and you can plug them in and talk to them.
So you drove what we have before they.
Yeah, enjoy it before it becomes a true pain in the ass.
You were wondering how do you communicate with the AEMs?
The big difference is the AEC, where there is no clustering of RNCs anymore, where you don't have that 10 RNCs all tied together in one cluster. You're just going to have, this is this AEC, it handles this area. This is this AEC, it handles this area. For Houston, you're going to have one for Fallstown, you're going to have two in Weston. So if you go to commission one, whoever sends you the scripts, or if you make them yourself, or if you have to replace one, there's, like on the primary RNC list, you know that box on how to fix the primary RNC, homing, where they screwed up Westland a while back.
Yeah.
There's just one IP address. It only homes to one thing. So you have to make sure you home it to the correct AEC. That's really the biggest difference. For the field side of it, for the AEMs, of course the command structure is different. But the big thing is, like a config bin is now going to be a PLD underscore D11.out. Once we go to EEGS 2.0, it's going to be a PLD underscore D20.out. The other change would be, instead of doing a CLI file, you'll have a configuration script and a commissioning script. Two scripts to run on each. Tools-wise, the GEM server, SimCAD, SimCLI, alarm query like you do on a BSM today, it's the same. The AEC and AEM command line, the ADC, it's exactly the same as the BSC for the switch. Where you log in, you do your CLI modify timeout,
Mhm.
it's the same. There's just a couple extra commands in there that are AEM and AEC specific.
Okay.
Still going to use CACP. You also get your CPS tool added in. I'll show you that here in a little bit. Log in if you don't already have it. Make sure you get your login. Citrix groups if you want to be able to do the Citrix version of the login. This whole thing's up on the webpage on the EGS. NTEC put together an IP list as AECs are coming online, where you can find the AEC IP, the GEM server IPs. Those, how I said there's just that one IP it homes to, the master RCP. See the shelf RCP IP? The first shelf, so it's going to be your master, which should be right there. Also, master RCP. SIMS northbound floater, that's going to be the actual GEMS box you log into. This OAM IP is actually the IP address for the AEC itself. You really don't need to know it, and I'll show you in a little bit longer. If you, to get to it, you're going to have to log into SIMS first, or GEMS, whatever you like to call it. Basically, you'll SSH to it just like you would to a DSM. So the same way you have your jump box set up in Secure CRT or Silly Manager for a VSM, it's the exact same thing. Jump through the jump box, SSH to the node. You still have a basic login and password. For switch folks, you still just type SIMSCAD and export your display or send CLI. It's the same. To get to the AEC, like say you don't know what your ADM's IP address is,
Mhm.
the reason I said you don't need to know that IP address, you can SSH MTC at AEC or SSH minus L MTC space AEC. They built the AECs into the IP config on the SIMS box, where if you type AEC, it knows you're talking about that box and it logs you to that box. The passwords, they're just leaving them MTC for now. Kind of like right now, to get into a DOM, it's default one Nortel
Uh-huh.
from the DO EMS Unix box.
Mhm.
Guess what? If you want to log into an RNC right now, default one Nortel.
Okay.
Your logins for the AEMs would be your big change. AEM, ADM user, and DOM admin, case sensitive. There's a trick to these, like legacy EVDO, even if I haven't added the node to the DOEMS yet, I still, from that box, if that DOM's talking, I can log into that DOM. On these, if that node is not added to GEMS and connected to GEMS, I cannot access the AEM from GEMS. You'll have to log into the AEC, go to shell, and log into it from there.
Hmm.
Because it's talking to the AEC. The GEMS box sits off to the side. You have to tell it to look for it. We're going to do this here. AEC CLI, same as any DSC for switch folks. Field guys, when you log into it, CLI modify timeout 1410. The reason for this, if you step out of your truck and smoke a cigarette, by the time you get back in your truck, it's going to time you out. Like most things, question mark will give you help. If you know part of a command, like this example command, if I type the word AEM and hit the tab key, it's going to say AEM config. If I type TM, it's going to go TM AEM. If I type the letter S, it's going to give me status. It will do tab complete.
Gotcha.
So, for example, if you get into the AEC because you don't know what your AEM IP address is, You can do AEM config, TM, AEM status, show all, and it's going to show you everything. You can get fancier and do where cell equals your cell site ID, and if they built it correctly, hopefully you actually see it. These qualifiers here at the end with the where, there's a ton of ways to do those. Where it contains, where it does not include, you can lose yourself in doing the qualifier form. But for example, like just if you do a show all, it's going to give you the AEM IP address. It's going to give you the cell site, which service group and unit that card's assigned to, how long that node's been up. If it's still initializing or in a fault status, it will tell you. Quick, dirty way to look and see which AEMs are up or down. Doesn't necessarily mean they're working 100% right, but at least they're up. And then just an example of filtering for just your site. You good? Yeah.
Yeah.
Question mark for help. Guess what? It's just going to show you what all the root commands are, basically what they do. You type the first word in, hit question mark, it's going to give you your next parameter choices, all the way to the end. It'll even help you with those qualifiers, like doing the where equals, where whatever equals. It'll help you all the way out. Very friendly box. AEM, it does the same thing. You hit question mark, it gives you help. The AEMs, although it does the same job as the DOM, does not talk to you the same way the DOM does. Like when, here's some examples. On a DOM, from the enable prompt, show 1x video traffic channel, show your session, right?
Mm-hmm.
On an AEM, you have to go into shell and do ch space quote atc space minus e close quote. Rather different. On a DOM, you pretty much just use shell for tar packages, CLI files, and config bins. On these, you'll be in shell quite a bit more. And as you can see, it likes putting quotes in on shit just to make it really difficult to decipher what you need to do. Show interface on a DOM shows you your Ethernet, your node, your TCP, T1, nice and pretty in order. You do show interface on an AEM, it looks more like a router. Pretty ugly to look at. Your config bin, for example, on a DOM, shell, cd/active, list, you can see your config bin sitting there nice and pretty. Sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
On an AEM, you go into shell, you have to type devs. If you want to change directory, first you have to cd quote /diff1:0 close quote, then cd space quote active close quote. Then you can do an ls and see your pld underscore v11 not out file. A little bit more of a pain in the ass. Putting it back, still just, if it's a one you can actually talk to, it's basically the same thing. You're just going to pipe that file back into it. FTP it back in like you would if you configured it. Still looking for the active directory. Time zones. On a DOM, you know, it shows you GMT time, and then it has that 6-hour offset built in. You just have to make sure the offset's there. The AEMs are nicer in the simple fact that you type get time, a get time command, it should show you local time. That's the same time it's broadcasting, so your pretty little smartphone can have local time. You get a customer complaint or a smartphone showing the wrong time, find what site they're on, log into the AEM, type get time. Get time is not local time. Here's your problem. to change it, just so you can see a config difference, like on a DOM, you're going to say config, whatever I want to do, exit, right, be done. No. On these, you're going to type config, but if you want to change a parameter, you actually have to type the word set. What do I want to set? When you're done, you type the word commit, which would be like doing your right, and then you hit exit.
By exit, it states it automatically?
The commit saves. Exit is just getting you back out of config.
What the commit command is?
The commit is the right commit. But notice you do the commit before you get out, where on a DOM, you exit that right.
Mm-hmm.
T1 back off, Ethernet back off. Is T1 back off? Show back off. Notice you're going to have IP information sitting down under the T1 section. If it's IP, this would be an example of like a DOM Metro cell version 1. Instead of ETH1/0/1, you have first-ether-IP-address. So, like when you need to FTP a config file onto a DOM, you go config ETH1/0/1 IP whatever, no shut, like 10.1.1.1. On here, you're going to have to go into config, set first-ether-IP-address, whatever. Set first-ether-subnet-mask, whatever. Set first-ether-default-gateway, whatever. Pain in the ass. But eventually that goes away because on the internal ones, you have to push those files from the VSM, the site to the file. Show T1 off. We'll show you your admin status of the ports. 1 equals on, 0 equals off. PPPs, same thing. So like on a DOM, you can see nice and pretty because you can see the bits incrementing on each PPP. You can see up. Well, instead of up, you get 1s or 0s. Not near as pretty to look at. CLI, CPS. This, I've got an OEM version of the mop on how to do these. I've just yet to put it into something that's usable for us because their version, you get lost just trying to get past the first page. It's ugly. But I've got the file, I just have to clean it up and send it out to where it's pretty much on the internal one. You get call processing up on the site, then where the site's up, you lock call processing, and then from the BSN, there's a way to push the files down the pipe. Show uptime, kind of like on a legacy DOM, just at the base prompt, you can do a show module, and you can see the, like for example, the modem is dead, it'd say active, inactive. Here you got your show uptime where your little pieces inside, like your SC and your main processor, you can see if they're your Avis link is your link back to the ADC. You can see if it's up. So like you can see the SC and MP with a good uptime, but the Avis, your link back to the ADC dead, which would kind of signal that the card's probably good, but you have some sort of transport issue. Show status just gives you a good quick health check. The thing you have to remember on these, they're multi-carrier cards. So for right now, that first 0 is going to be the first carrier. If we ever get to the point where we have multiple carriers, you're going to have a 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, and then a 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2 for the second carrier. So it's just something else to screw with you with 0, 0 being alpha, 0, 1 being beta. Different. One nice enhancement, it actually has a get alarm command where you can actually see what the problem on the freaking card is. A lot of these, I mean, like here, PPP link 2 is unlocked but down. PP3 link 3 is unlocked but down. T12 is unlocked with red failure. So instead of looking at the show interface and seeing an up down, you actually got to do get alarm where you can see, okay, my second and third T1s are down. Make sense? It's just a different place you got to look, and it looks like fresh.
They are sensitive.
Yeah, they are very sensitive.
So don't be surprised if you're not changing the cable, especially if it's on that old style gray cable where it was shielded. What you might start doing is make you a long outboard cable so you can plug it into the NIU and plug it up and see if it actually comes up.
That'd be an outboard piece of chunk, long chunk of Cat 5 on the truck where you can use it as a test tube.
Because I've actually tested it, looked at it, and everything, and it looked good. And then the only thing I done was change out the cable and it popped up. And I tested it back to the AEM. I was reading my 6 volts coming out of it. No issues. Going back to T1, no issues. And no sooner I changed the cable, it just shot up.
Back on the GEMS box, that first box you log into, SimCLI, like from just your normal BSM type prompt, if you type SimCLI, it asks you to log in again. It's the same login that you just logged into the box with in the first place. But you can do, it's somewhat similar to Ciliac. You still do a change directory to see what you're at. But you can do a get all, show the details where you're at, get T, show subcomponents, get AL, show alarms. Like on a Legacy DOM where we go to DOEMS and do an add node action. Look at this. You go to SimCLI, you can also do it from SimScan. Add -T, whatever type of AEM, either AEM or DBA underscore AEM. Base -A, AEM IP address, ... And then you have to do change into that directory and do an action connect. That's what I was talking about earlier about if you're at that just the regular BSM prompt and you cannot remotely log into that AEM, where you have to go to the AEC and then go to shell and then try and do it. That's where you can go and check and see if it's connected. If it's not connected there, it might still be up and processing calls, but no OMs and alarms and everything else is flowing back.
Can you tab out on that?
Yeah. So for example, like a get T, it's going to show you like network.1, network.1, subnetwork.10, which that's Dallas. Then you can see your ADC. Your regular AEMs will be AEM if it's an internal. It's going to say DBA AEM. Notice when they're adding a descriptor to these, it's back to using the Silicode format, not the Cascade ID format, just to make it a further pain in your ass. But I mean, if you were to look in a regular BSM, like call processing BSM, you still have SimCLI, you'll still have network 1, subnetwork, but then you'll start seeing like enhanced DSC, and you can look at your CBRSs, your CSVSs, all your different shells. I mean, it's basically, from a switch perspective, the same type of box. CD ... moves you back, CD, subnetwork.10 would move you forward, get AL, you can look at alarms, you can CD to the next level out, or if you're all the way at the front, you can CD to the whole path. For example, looking at one, like all the way out at an AEM, say you knew the Silicode, you found it, you stepped up, you did your change directory, got all the way out to it, you did a get all, you can find your AEM IP address. There's that connected. In other words, it's actually talking not only to the AEC but also through the AEC to GEM. Your backup file, in other words, your config.bin/pld.out file, it tells you exactly where it's located and the date and time stamp of it. Pretty easy to find your own config. Also, it gives you a quick, easy, without even logging into the AEM, how many alarms are on it. Pretty simple. And if you want it, of course, AEM backups, OpSends, log any backup. I need to add an R in there. Whoops. Software, CPS. I can show y'all how to install CPS. You might want it so you can create your own, like regenerate your own scripts. If you ever have one. If you have a snapshot, even if that config bin or PLD file is gone, if you have a snapshot, you still can regenerate a script where you don't have to have RF reintegrate the freaking node like you do today. Basically, from whatever FTP tool you use, you have to go to that directory and save it. The easiest thing to do is save it to your root C drive. The reason for that, from your start menu, you have to hit .cmd. When your little CMD pops up, right click, run as administrator. And then you have to type in Java space minus jar and then that long ass file name for the installer file for it to install. It's not a regular executable file where you can just double click and it install itself. It's a pain in the ass. To pull those audit files, since we can't log in live, you log in to the box, you go into Send CLI, get T, you can see your network hierarchy. You go to that subsystem network and you do an action any backup. So once you do that action any backup, it's going to tell you, okay, here's your audit file, and this is the path where I put it. So in other words, say even if you don't have an audit file on your computer, the config bins or PLD files are gone, you can go in that directory, find the most recent version of that audit file, dump it to your computer, open up CPS, and regenerate a script from that AEM. To where you don't have to start over with the CLI file and then have RF re-add all the neighbors and reintegrate it. So once you pull them off of there, FTP it across. On CPS, you just do an import system audit, select override, next, blah, blah, blah. And it'll sit and go through kind of like a CACP loading a VSM, loading all the shells. And that's basically what it looks like, where you have all your nodes that are built there, kind of like on CACP, you have all your BTSs. You have your AEC, then you have all your AEM. And it has pretty little wizards where you can regenerate scripts or generate new ones, and it basically walks you through and highlights the fields you need to fill out. Like say you're doing carrier and want to generate your own. It'll walk you through the fields on how to fill it out. If you skip something, like say I hit OK and I missed the field, it's going to give you a little error down here that says, hey, dumbass, you got to do this too. Or hey, dumbass, you put the wrong value in this field. But you can, it's a good, easy way to look at, like you can look up IPs where, like we were just talking about, you can go into the AEC and look. If you had a copy of this installed on your laptop, you can find by cell ID, you could filter on what the IP addresses are just by opening a program, kind of giving yourself your own version of a local database.
You can find all the
AEM IPs yourself. On site, like setting up to a NOC for the ones in Metro. The alarms, I'm no expert, not going to pretend to be one. I'll help you as much as I can. But 99% of the time on weird ass alarms on an AEM, that's where I'm going. Go to Alex documentation, type in whatever the name of the alarm is, and pull it up and see what it says. And it's under CPI, just CDMA network, Ericsson EVDO. Right now we're on EEGS 1.1. CalStore, CDMA networks, EEGS. CalStore is more your, I think that's the, one of them's the installation crap, one of them's the technical. I never remember which is which. But just to show you, basically. I'm in the box. I'm in Fallstone AEC, or Fallstone Sims server. That thing probably sits in Fort Worth or somewhere else, just like the rest of the legacy DOE units. Looks basically like a BSM product. Guess what? If I type Ciliat, it's still going to take me to Ciliat. There ain't shit in there, but it's going to take me in. From here, if you know, just like from the DOE and that's Unix, if you know your AEM's IP address, you can SSH to it straight from here, as long as it's connected. Does that make sense? That SimCLI deal, where you can actually go in and look. You can type. Get T. So there's 99 DBA AEMs and 89 regular AEMs built to this thing.
Where you saying 89?
Oh, there's 100. See, AEM,
Oh, okay.
DBA AEM, with those pretty little silly codes.
So at 100, does that mean it's actually been configured or it's in the process? Would you say?
That means it's been configured, but somebody didn't do that nice little edit step and actually name it.
Oh.
So, for example, if I wanted to log into one of these, or find the IP address, all you got to do, like say, okay, this Conroe site's mine, one I need to look at, CD to there, get T. Okay, that's where I'm at. There's my instance of Planet. If I do a get all, there's my AEM IP address. I'm connected to it. It's unlocked enabled. This thing has one critical alarm, one major alarm, and one warning. Get minus AL. I don't have permission.
Wow.
I've been arguing with NISA for weeks on the permissions they're giving people on these. Right now, the default permissions they're giving, we don't have permission to add a new DOM or a new AEM. Like, how can that be a functional permission level? If we're going to do EVDO carrier ads, I've got to be able to.
Yeah.
But, like, this one is, for example, this one is connected, so I can do my SSH, AEM, ADM, user, at that IP, and it should talk to it. Admin, town. Ooh, it helps when you type the username right, doesn't it? What?
Go out of here.
Or did I have it right the first time? For sure it's all caps. Nice. There's also a unlock password if somebody screws it up. We'll go the other way. was saying you can, like, say you can't find it, or say it's one of these where they named it something screwy or didn't name it at all, but you know what your cell ID is. If you SSH MTC at AEC, password is MTC, you're into the, see, it looks just like a VSC.
Mhm.
CLI, modify, timeout, 1410. Now guess what? There's all those options where you can question mark your header. So I can do AEM config, DM status, show all. If I want to do those weird qualifiers, see, you can do like detailed, compact, brief, or I can do aware, field name. What field name do I want? Well, I don't know. Let me just do a show all. But it's going to give you your AEM IP address, your cell ID, and your uptime.
So you're like those 89.
That's every one of them.
Yeah.
Everything that's tied to it. So you can see like this one, initialize 668. So how much you want to bet? Shell equals 668. That one's never going to come up. Somebody screwed up. You can only have one cell ID. You cannot duplicate cell ID.
Hmm.
So in other words, on this one right here, if I were to go in and change that to say 1668, that DOM would pop. Right now that DOM's dead in the water because they named it duplicate.
Can you make the change?
So I'm going to drop the shell, type the word shell, SSH, AEM, AEM user at 10.224.19.201. See if I can even get to it. I might not even be able to talk to it. You actually have to get into it. Can't do it. Yeah, it. But if they get it talking, it's still never going to home, never going to work because it's still ID. To me, the logic on that, what they're doing, the problem with this whole solution right now, like Hammond, for example, they don't have an AEC yet, but they're pushing forward with AEM EGS conversion. And they're piping it all back to Fallstone's AEC. So, what are the odds that or Hammond's using the same cell numbers we're using? Pretty good, right? If they're already there, they go to convert our sites, like say this 668,
Mhm.
they'll say, okay, that cell ID is already in there. You want to know the OEM solution? Just change it to 4039,
What? Just something random like that?
4,000 plus number. They don't care. Just something, 4,000 plus. That's another one of those. Clean it up later.
Not even flag.
Throw and go.
There, I gotta throw in like my birthday.
It's a freaking nightmare.
Oh, God.
That's just so stupid.
It is.
Now you know why I sit and cuss all day long and have my hat like this and smoke too much. Because that's what I deal with every all day long.
Well, you can tell in that Sprint. Sprint would have had somebody's ass by now.
Let's get into the R's. That's a fake
City do ours.
user at, what was the one that's working? Hey! Alright. So I'm in. Big change from a DOM. You know, DOM, you got your standard prompt and then your enable prompt. Just one prompt. But, question marks with description. The weirdest thing on these is the shell. Like to look at sessions, the CH, quote, AT, The output looks similar, but getting to it, not so much. To get out of shell, it's still just an exit, like that. Basic stuff. I mean, it's show space, like card, for example. Do you want to show the card? Here's all the stuff it'll show. Your options where you can step out further past card, or if you just want to show it all. Most of them have an all feature. Show card. Master node, kind of like on a DOM, you've got a node IP, but then you also get your multi-link IP. On these, it's just one IP. Even if you do T1 backhaul, it's still just one IP. You don't have that extra multi-link crap. So you got your IP, your gateway, your alias name, in other words, who it's supposed to be tried for. PLD version 1.1. This red AEC IP address, like your primary homing on a DOM, that's your equivalent. Red AEC IP. That time zone thing, that if you got to change it because the time zone's wrong, right there, time zone 360. Show card all gives you a lot of info. Show back all. If it was T1, you would have that same IP address information you had up here would be here. If this was one they were daisy chaining through, or legacy DOM to get to an AEC DOM, or an AEM, this first Ethernet gateway, this information right here, would be filled in the same as it is right here. This one's true IP backhaul. You can tell just because it's on an RBS because all this crap is zeroed out.
And the other one was data changing duplicate.
So this bottom here is on the RBS.
This AEM is on RBS. If this was like true T1 backhaul, multi-link, this IP information right here for the master node information, master node gateway IP and subnet. If it was on T1, that same information would be right here. If it was one of the ones where it's the T1s are still terminated to the DOM, but then they have an Ethernet cable from the legacy DOM to the AEM, like we've got 50-something of them sitting out there. This first Ether IP information right here would match up there. But considering this is zeroed out on all of it, quick, easy way to tell that one's a DVA, internal to a
The one
DVA.
that was silly, that was the one that daisy chained, and that's when it was not talking at one time.
What else? What's another good one?
650 for AB. That's the one.
Get time. That's now. That one's working. It's sad to say, like I didn't see it too bad with ours, but I just spot checked here and there. I didn't check all 57 sites. Dallas, when they did a couple of the rehauls in Dallas, they had like 20 something where they didn't set the time. It was set to GMT. So they started getting customer complaint tickets coming into the switch. Customers not showing correct time on call. So then you're sitting logging in node to node to node.
Have they
resetting the
converted
time.
anything from 59 to 10 that you know of on the Beltway?
To
Yesterday I was doing, I was
to
IMing
just
somebody,
RBS or the SIU sites everywhere.
and I noticed that I was picking up March 4th, March 1st, March 28th on my IM. where in,
Your alarm, nice and pretty. You can do your pings and your trace routes from here to see, like, for example, we know that's the AEC we should be talking to, right?
Mhm.
Hey, can I talk to the guy I need to? Yes, I can. Trace route to the guy I need to talk to. On DOMs, like SIU sites with DOMs,
Mhm.
trace route works great. On EEGS stuff, firewall hell. So, have you ever seen a ping or a trace route where it gives you like, this is one hop, this is one hop? These won't necessarily always give you all the hops that you want to see. They like to hide stuff. This one actually did, surprisingly. So you can see, I didn't know what else to do. I sent it out my default gateway, all zeros default gateway. Then I hit a 113, 18, 65, 253, 249, 10, 223, 1058. He bounced around through quite a few boxes before he finally got. This is a Hammond site. So it's going from Hammond into an IPA through some MSR routers and backbone routers to finally make its way to Falstaff and actually get into the CDN context of the IPA and then make its way into the AEC. That one's going a long, long way.
So is there some standardization to these
Yeah.
IP addresses that let you know what
That's what we're going to
what
talk
box
about as
they're
soon
in?
as we're done with it. That's the thing that had Lee's eyes glassed over yesterday.
Got
Slow
it.
down.
What?
You basically, I mean, you see there's a lot of difference. If you look on the web page, where's my folder? Wrong folder. Did I put it on there? Screw it, put it in the folder. In the EEGS folder. I dug out from Alex the command references, fundamentals, but like all those shell commands, I've got a hold of the guy's cheat sheet. And there's some of these that actually, besides that showing your call processing, as you can see, there's a few million things that are in shell commands. From what they said, eventually, as this develops, a lot of these shell commands are going to slowly move in, like this, to look at the sessions. Eventually, that's going to make its way into being a real command, not a shell command. But for now, so you can see their actions. This was the deal from the OEM design people. Like action rename only. We're going to make this one a shell command, so I can go rename and add the CLI. So you can see that one they plan on moving over. But it has kind of a basic little, like show your overhead channels. SMSN messaging, show control channel queues, show access channel configuration, call trace tools, show LED states. Lots of good crap in there. Questions? Headaches? Nightmares?
Yeah.
I mean, you could sit and spend days just on that.
Now, you
This is
said
kind of a
that,
cover everything really quick and kind of get how much everybody needs on more.
Say all the classes that they sent to LTE was
Yeah. All right, we need 5 before we do the Nosby part.
Yep. Get Bridget's brain.
The main thing I want to cover with you guys here is the SIU sites. Ethernet backhaul sites, we can do at a later date. It's actually a lot freaking simpler. But just where you can kind of help yourself. Because honestly, 90% of it, whether it's SIU or through Ethernet,